Hi everyone, I'm Echoes and I'm a VTuber, and I'll be going over episode 3 of Hat Atelier. Um, I'm definitely trying to record these day of when the episode releases. So I'll try my best because I want to keep up to date and also be try to get if possible views during because they ideally when you have reactions, right, you want to upload on the day as close to the release as possible. So yeah. Anyway, I'm looking forward to going over the Dadah test range, or Dadah range test, sorry, that Coco undergoes this episode. It's a very meaningful moment for her as she kind of gets to explore her strengths and weaknesses and gets to show off that she is a truly competent witch. So yeah, let's get started. So in the beginning, we kind of get the introduction to Qifrey's entrance into the Great Hall, which is where a lot of witches congregate. It's like a gathering place for witches. And I believe it's underneath the ocean, which is why we have this cliff right here, or this like area jutting out of the ocean here that serves as the entrance. You can see he walked from the window way and entering this staircase area. And then he just flies down and he greets Elira, who is down here. So what's the point of having a stairway when no one ever uses it? True, because they just use their casting seals to go down. And then he meets Elira, who's this a darker skinned witch here. Very pretty, of course. She's a fellow witch like him, who I don't remember if we go into detail in the manga, but she's essentially one of his friends, I believe. It's been a long time since he last came to the seabed. That was a long time ago, Lyra, and I wonder about that. Heard about your new apprentice. Already word travels fast, huh? And then she might have a connection you're looking for, right? To the brim caps. So the brim caps are essentially the opposing faction, which I don't think this episode goes into detail specifically, but I think eventually we'll learn more about them. Because they're essentially a very mysterious, elusive group, but we'll go more detail on when the time rises. So she's an important lead, and she hasn't taken her test, so she's not my official apprentice yet. Bad time for it. It's too soon. At this time of year, the Dadah Range, where the test takes place, they'll be at the highest elevation. I wouldn't dream of putting someone through the test now. It could get them killed. So yeah, it's very dangerous for her to be taking that test. And now we go back to the scene with Coco and what do you call it? Agat, I believe. And then we see get the opening, which I'll skip because we already have watched it over already. But yeah, but the opening is really beautiful. I constantly I like rewatching every time. And then you can see that Coco's getting ready to take her test. Are you sure I should do this? Qifrey's Master Qifrey's in here. Or not Qifrey, Qifrey. I believe it's Qifrey, sorry. I'll do Qifrey or Qifrey. I think generally get the point across. But I only just got here. We all have to pass to become apprentices. The first test is called the consent of the crown. You have to reach the summit of the Dadah Range purely on your own power and pick the diadem herb that grows there. The guidance orb points the way to your destination. And also she gives her the vapor bubble for drinking water. And then she also has her tools, of course. And go on is like, and then she requests for essentially Agat's shoes here because they're contraptions that she could use. And she asks to borrow her pairs, and is it too much? Is like, just use them. Gotta mention, but you can only get to take this test once. If you fail, you never be allowed to be Master Qifrey's apprentice. Qifrey's. Okay. And now she's in the forest where she'll be taking the test, or almost there, like near the forest, nearby. It's like, how do I use the guidance orb anyway? And then she knows that it, like, a cool mechanism that they explain more in the anime is that they, like, I believe a part of that, the item that they're looking for is inside that orb, and it points in the direction when she's getting close to the area, which is pretty, it's a nice detail. Wants to go this way, and then she's sort of navigating through the forest here. Like, I can do this, essentially. And now she realizes that the greatest challenge here is that the Dadah Range is essentially a mountain range that's full of these floating circles full of grass and stuff that's floating in the air, which is why Qifrey said before that they're at the highest elevation, which means that they're at their highest height, essentially, which makes it very dangerous if Coco isn't careful. So that's a Dadah Range. And then the guidance orb is porting up. So, and she didn't think that they'd be floating. She assumed it was a normal mountain range. And now she's testing using the shoes that Aga gave her. Casting seal split between the right and left foot, which is why when you combine them, they activate, essentially. And then she practices using them. And then Master Qifrey is right. What does she say? I'm like a newborn fowl stumbling around. Yeah, so she still has a lot to learn, but flying can take me to some in no time. So that's why she's taking quite a bit of time to practice. And now we go back to the Great Hall, which is underwater here. See, they have all these buildings and stuff. And now you can see he's I believe that Qifrey is submitting an application for his new apprentice, who is Coco. You wouldn't have to travel, and also Alara says that if you live in Great Hall, let's see, you would have a lot of like conveniences and stuff. It's kind of like, you know, like going to the city, right? And you can also bring your apprentices and stuff, and I don't see that, and you can see that they're working here. And that's like, he's like, that's why I need to come here only when I need things. Here you go. And then he gets what he's looking for. Keep an eye on those apprentices of yours. You don't know what children that age might get up to without adults around, which directly reflects Aga making Coco take the Dadah Range test. And you see that next we go back to Coco, who's able to fly a bit better now, but she's still having trouble using it. So, and then she meets this little guy, which is Brushbug. Brushbug is the main mascot of this series, so he's very cute. Then she falls into the water, and Brush Buddy. I think it's called Brushbug or Brush Buddy. I guess either way is fine. It's like, well, I've never seen one before, and you can see that a lot of her belongings got wet, including her ink and the shoes. So she has to kind of figure out what to do next, because she can't do the method she did before. Her ink spilled my bag. It's all over. See, Tetia here is like, oh, hey, have you seen Coco? And then she says she's not here. She went to the Dadah Range for her tests. And then Tetia's like, but she just got here. And then Coco's like, and not Coco, Agat's like, most people take the test before coming here, right? Can't pass a test that simple. She shouldn't be an apprentice. I hate people who can't do what I can. Get no benefit of being around them. Don't worry, she'll fail and come back soon enough. And you can see that that in a way, Agat's setting her up to fail because she knows that the elevation is the highest at this time of the year. So, but that's also why what Coco does this episode is so extraordinary. So, doesn't even know the rules or realize how dangerous it is. And you can see that Tetia lost her appetite because of this. Feel kind of down. And Riche seems to be fine. And then she says, essentially, there's nothing we could do until Mr. Qifrey comes back. I tried drawing it back with a little ink I had left, but it can't really fly now. Ink soaks and dilutes because they're still wet. No, and then you can see that good thing is that she doesn't fall into the temptation here, because she's like, oh, if I just draw it on my feet, then I could fly, right? But then that's doing forbidden magic. So I'm glad that she doesn't do that here, because it's great show of her character, but it doesn't change also that this alludes that Coco, it may in general be more susceptible to using forbidden magic because she didn't grow up knowing about magic in the first place, so she doesn't feel restricted by her upbringing. So it's definitely an interesting distinction about her. And then she's like, oh, I guess Aga was right. Anyone can draw a spell, but that doesn't mean that they'll be good at it. Guess you had to be a special kind of person to be a witch after all. They've all been drawing spells since they were children. But then you can see here she gets a, like, I think this is I believe a new scene where we get a flashback to when she was watching her mother and using what she knows best to aid her here. You get the flashback of earlier. And then she says, I have my own magic now. So this is where she makes a plan. So first is that she creates a tool just like what she used to use when in the shop ran by her mother. So you use some water to dilute the ink. I'm gonna dry on my wet cape and made a little stiff, so that means that she can use it to draw on it now because it's a little stiffer. And she's now can write on it. And she's using her mother's memories of her mother for guidance here. Natural to have unsteady tools when you're learning to use a new tool. So I'll swap it to a tool I'm used to, which makes perfect sense here because in a way, it's best to just use, tools that she's familiar with the most. My fingers begin to dance of their own accord. And you see that she essentially creates sort of like a sailboat sort of situation. And it's pretty ugly for a casting steel, and the signs was a uniform. Wanted to see what would happen, made a long one on purpose. So she's using essentially what she learned last episode, but having one of the signs longer than the others. And this one, just one really long sign to see whether it could go very far in one direction, essentially. And Brush Buddy's joining her. Yeah, and then she activates the spell, and now she is trying to control her contraption here. And what happens that essentially because the boat part's too heavy, it ends up detaching, and she is on the mast / sail that she created, and that she's flying with her own spell here. Never thought helping mom would help me learn magic. You can see that here that she's able to maneuver her contraption around to try to get this plant here, which is the diadem, I believe. So yeah, so she's kind of swooping between the swooping down to try to grab it, and she's failing, but she's definitely trying. And then we get this moment here, which I think is also a new scene, if I remember correctly. So this one I don't remember being in the manga, but it's like you can tell like they're really focusing on her bond with her mother, which wasn't really available in the original. And you can see that there's a focus on her hands and stuff. She's like, okay, I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to try to, achieve my goal. And you can see here, she finally reaches out farther this time around and is able to grab her prize. And then when Qifrey comes back, then Tetsuya reports like, oh, so Coco went to Dadah Range to take the test for herself, but she'll fail if you interrupt her. So this is the thing is that looks like, what's her name? I got was right. Essentially, you can only take the test once, and if he interferes, the test fails. She hasn't been, and then you can see that she hasn't been living around magic like her whole life like we have. She won't be the only loss that we suffer. So he's also trying to protect her, or to have, because she's the only clue he has to the brim hats. And you can see that they he opens the door, and then Coco ends up being fine. And she has the diadem. And you can see that he hears that she got the consent of the crown. And this is the proof I need, right? And you can see that Aga is kind of like, I guess, surprised that she, passed, but also, I guess, maybe upset or disappointed. And then you can see that Qifrey here is giving her a warning. It's extremely dangerous to cast spells. I thought you already learned that already. Never do anything like that again. So you can see he's scolding her, but he's, being gentle. And also he is putting himself down at her level, which I appreciate because, it's a sort of it's a form of respect, to bring yourself down to a person's level so that it's easier to converse, You could tell that he's good at working with younger children in this case. I mean, makes sense because he has several apprentices after all. And it's like, she gets that, and then you can see he says that, and besides, you didn't need to put yourself in danger to prove anything. You already became my apprentice. And he gives her something very important, which is revealed here. It is the proof that she is a witch is her clothing. It is the official outfit of being an apprentice here. And you can see that Brushbug is holding the crown. It's very cute. It is both our pride and a shackle that rests atop her head so we don't abuse her magic. Oh, that's referring to their cap here. Also, what's really interesting is the detail of how she puts it on. It's very, definitely an interesting method, for sure. Like, she puts a part of it over her head, which is pretty cool, and the parts on her sleeves is really interesting. And then, as long as you wear it, don't forget its weight. The pointed cap is watching your magic. You see that she smiles here, which is really cute. And then they finally get food because Coco hasn't eaten for a while, and then she takes a bath as well. And then we get some foreshadowing with this guy here. I don't remember if they revealed his name, but he's the guy who gave Coco the book and the wand, and he says that the seed has sprouted, I believe, which definitely some foreshadowing for upcoming events. But yeah. And then I believe that next episode, I think we'll get a bit more world building, but regardless, overall, very good episode. Very great action scenes, especially when Coco is flying. And I really love the emphasis on her problem-solving skills, because Coco has certain strengths and weaknesses, right? Her main weakness is that she just doesn't have enough knowledge on magic, but one of her greatest strengths is not only is she good at straight lines, but she's also really good thinking out the box. She doesn't limit herself based on what she knows. She tries to use what she already knows at the time and uses it to its best capabilities. So, and she's also very tenacious, as I think we can already tell at this point. But yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed me talking about this series and looking forward to next episode. I think, if I can remember exactly, I think the next episode will involve, the apprentices and Qifrey visiting a nearby village to get some magic supplies, if I can remember correctly, but regardless, if I don't, like, oops. But regardless, it should be good. And eventually I think Agatha will warm up to Coco. It takes a bit of time for her because Agatha has her own backstory. I'm not saying it justifies her literally possibly putting Coco in danger, by the way. But yeah, but regardless though, she'll warm up eventually. It'll just take a little time. But yeah. Anyway, that's all from me, and looking forward to talking about next week's episode next week. Thank you so much.